Have you ever heard of a king so wise that rulers from distant lands traveled thousands of miles just to hear his words? A man so rich that silver was as common as stones in his kingdom? A leader so powerful that he forged alliances with the greatest empires of his time? But despite all his wisdom, riches, and power, he had one fatal weakness: women. This is the story of King Solomon, the wisest and wealthiest ruler in biblical history, a man who built a kingdom unlike any before it. He transformed Israel into a shining jewel of the ancient world. His words of wisdom were recorded in Proverbs, his knowledge of nature surpassed that of any scholar, and his understanding of human nature made him a master judge. Yet, his downfall was not brought about by war, famine, or betrayal. It was caused by his own desires. Solomon had a harem of 1,000 women, 700 wives and 300 concubines, each from a different nation, each with a different story. They were princesses from Egypt with eyes as mysterious as the Nile, noble women from Moab with skin kissed by the sun, daughters of kings from Ammon, Edom, and Sidon, each carrying the beauty and traditions of their homelands. His palace became a melting pot of cultures, a kingdom of dazzling beauty and endless luxury. But beneath the gold, the silk, and the perfumed halls, trouble was brewing. Each wife and concubine brought not only her beauty but also her gods. Solomon, the man who had once stood in the presence of the Almighty, the king to whom God had granted unparalleled wisdom, found himself entangled in the web of his own making. Did his harem lead to his downfall? To understand Solomon's fate, we must start at the beginning. The year was 990 BC in the ancient city of Jerusalem. A prince was born, and his name was Solomon, meaning peaceful and friend of God. But his birth was not a simple one. It was shrouded in scandal, sin, and divine judgment. His mother, Bathsheba, was once the wife of a mighty warrior, Uriah the Hittite. But King David, Solomon's father, fell into temptation. One evening, as he stood on the rooftop of his palace, he saw Bathsheba bathing. Her beauty was like the moon glowing over still waters, and the king, though blessed with many wives, desired her. David took Bathsheba as his own and soon learned that she was carrying his child. To cover his sin, he summoned Uriah from the battlefield, hoping he would sleep with his wife and believe the child was his. But Uriah was a man of honor. He refused to enjoy the comfort of his home while his fellow soldiers suffered in war. Desperate, David sent Uriah back to battle with a sealed letter, a death sentence. The letter instructed his general to place Uriah at the front lines and then abandon him. The plan worked. Uriah fell in battle. But God saw everything. The child born from David and Bathsheba's affair died as a punishment from God. The weight of his sin crushed David, and he repented bitterly. In his grief, he turned back to God, and God, in his mercy, blessed him and Bathsheba with another son, Solomon. Solomon was not just another prince. He was born out of a story of sin, repentance, and divine grace. As Solomon grew, he was tutored by the prophet Nathan. This was the same man who had confronted David about his sin with Bathsheba. Nathan was a man of deep wisdom and cunning strategy, and he saw something special in Solomon. King David had many sons, and the throne was a prize every prince desired. But Nathan had a plan. He began whispering in David's ears, reminding him that Solomon was different, that he was chosen. Over time, David became convinced that Solomon, not his older brothers, was meant to be king. But others had different plans. When David grew old and frail, Adonijah, another of his sons, declared himself king. He gathered supporters, including Joab, David's most powerful general, and Abiathar, the high priest. Nathan and Bathsheba acted quickly. They reminded David of his promise. Solomon was the chosen one. With his last strength, David commanded that Solomon be crowned king. The young prince, only 15 years old, was suddenly placed on the most powerful throne in the region. But power must be secured. Solomon did not hesitate. He ordered the execution of his brother Adonijah and the exile of his enemies. Joab, the great general, was killed at the altar of God. The old priest Abiathar was banished, never to return. The message was clear: Solomon was king, and no one would challenge his rule. One night, as Solomon lay in his chamber, he had a dream. In this dream, God appeared before him. His voice, like rolling thunder, echoed in the young king's mind. "Ask for whatever you want me to give you," God said.
Solomon, still young and uncertain, knelt before the Almighty.
He did not ask for riches, power, or the death of his enemies. Instead, he said, "Lord, I am but a child. I do not know how to rule. Give me wisdom to govern your people, that I may know right from wrong."
Silence fell.
Then, God spoke again. "Because you have asked for wisdom and not for riches or long life, I will give you more wisdom than any man before you or after you. But I will also give you wealth and honor, so that in your days, no king will be your equal." Solomon woke up a changed man. From that moment on, his wisdom became legendary. People traveled from faraway lands to hear him speak. He could solve any dispute, answer any riddle, and understand the mysteries of the universe. His greatest test came when two women brought a baby before him, both claiming to be the mother. Without hesitation, he ordered, "Cut the child in half and give each woman a part." One woman agreed.
The other screamed, "No.
"Let her have the baby." Solomon smiled. "She is the true mother." His wisdom spread across the world, reaching the ears of the Queen of Sheba, who traveled with great riches to test him. But even she was left in awe of his understanding. But wisdom alone could not save Solomon. As his kingdom grew, so did his hunger for power. He married foreign princesses to secure alliances, bringing their gods into Israel. His harem of 1,000 women turned his heart away from God. He built temples for foreign gods, offered sacrifices to them, and allowed idolatry to spread.
God was furious.
In his old age, Solomon's wisdom faded. His kingdom began to crumble. His own people turned against him, and after his death, Israel was torn apart. The greatest king, the wisest man, fell not by the sword, but by his own desires. This is the story of Solomon, a king who had everything but lost it all. Would you have made the same choices? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible biblical stories.